Carly Astacio.
Hey, yes.
Welcome to the
Tina.
Original Hustle. So good to see you here and to actually get to pronounce your last name, which I don't often get to do. So, right. So, thank you for joining me today. And I have to say, like, I know we've been friends for, gosh, what did we figure out? Well over a decade. But
Yes.
in that time frame, you've hinted, and we've never totally explored the fact that you used to, pre-marriage, pre-children, used to do pleasure parties.
Yes.
Yes, and I think something that we're all like, I would imagine many of us, whether we admit it or not, are wildly fascinated by.
Right.
And I'm sure you've got some good stories, and I can't wait to hear them. I know I didn't want to hear, I didn't want any spoilers. I, I'm wondering, as we kind of like kick off and start thinking about today's topic, right? Are we all just sort of
Yeah.
faking it? It sort of made me want to ask the question of, you know, I'm curious as to your opinion. Do you feel like we are living in the most sexually open time ever, or maybe just more, or more performative? Like, I'd love to hear that from you.
I would say, I wouldn't say necessarily performative. I would say yes, because everybody is, people are way more about talking about their feelings now than they ever have been. And for sure. I mean, when I started doing passion parties, I was 23. And so that's 20 years ago almost for me. And I it was still like taboo in a way to talk about then. And I feel like now it's a lot more open and people are a lot more open in just like every sense of sexuality, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and are passion parties still done? Do you know? Like, I don't think
You know
you
what? It's
would have
funny.
invited me to one, but yeah.
I
But
haven't
are
done them
they
in
still
years.
done? Yeah.
They are. I actually, it's funny. In us talking about this, I looked it up, and they still have a website. You still can throw a party. I don't have any idea of how often they're happening or how many people are actually consultants for them anymore. But they still happen. Yes.
Okay.
There were a lot though. There was passion parties, there was pleasure parties, there were like 4 or 5 other name ones that they had back then. Yeah, it was
Interesting.
yeah.
So help me understand. So is that just sort of like broad brand names, passion party, pleasure party, or were there
Yes.
differences in what they are? What are the differences between a passion party and a pleasure party?
Just the difference would be just the company, I believe. They all have like the basis of, you know, an MLM. And you go into someone's house or you can order online, I believe now. And girls get together or females get together, friends get together and get to like basically explore sex toys in a way that is a lot more I guess comfortable than going into a sex store, which can be, I mean, I don't know if you ever remember going into one for the first time for you, but I drove
Oh, I
by
would
the
love
one
for
that I
that.
went to when I the first one I ever went to, I actually drove by today, oddly enough. And I just remember being like, oh my God, it was so creepy. And I was 18 with one of my girlfriends and we walked in and we were just like, oh my gosh, this is and giggling and stuff. And there were like some serious people in there. And just, how walking into that was such a weird feeling then. And then now it's like it wouldn't even phase me to walk into a sex store essentially, or whatever they
Yeah.
call them now.
Yeah.
I don't know what the proper terminology is.
I'm not sure either, but we should.
Adult store? It was like adult
Adult store. I think
bookstores.
it's an adult store. Yes. Okay. So take me through. You did say a term though that I wanted to back up on. I'm not sure I got it quickly
Mhm.
enough, but you said it was you said pleasure parties were an MLB. Is that what you
A marketing MLM. I can't remember the exact terminology for it, but basically, it's like the pyramid scheme where, there's someone above you and you go underneath them and then they make a profit off of whatever you sell,
So
essentially.
kind of like Mary Kay, but for sex toys.
Yes, exactly. Perfect. That's a perfect example.
So I got I'm following. Okay, good. Well, let me so then take me through like the decision, two sort of two questions bundled up into one. Like
Yeah.
what's the deciding moment for you to like get into doing these pleasure parties? What does that first kit look like?
Okay,
Okay,
so
so
how I got into it was one of my best girlfriends from beauty school was going to one, and she basically dragged me there. I didn't want to go, but I was like, okay, fine, we'll go. So we go, there's usually they have wine or cocktails or something there. She so I had a cocktail. I think we might have had cocktails before we went. So we were feeling great. And we walk in, I was the youngest person there. I was very chatty. I was, thinking I knew everything there was to know about sex and sex toys at the time. And the host was sitting there, doing her presentation, and everybody was giggling and talking and passing around stuff. And she at the end was like, I think you'd be great at this. I think you would be you're very chatty, you're lively, you seem to like make friends, and I think this would be a great job for you. And I was midway through beauty school. I was thinking, okay, well, that's my calling in life is to do hair. And then, well, maybe this is my other calling. Like maybe I could do this. And so I signed up, and then my first kit came, and oh my god, Gina, it was huge. It was like this ginormous box that I could barely carry into the house, and I brought it into my parents' house and put it on the kitchen counter, and I opened it, and I'm looking through everything, and my very Catholic mother comes walking in, and she's like, the shock on her face was kind of like,
oh my gosh.
what are you doing? And I was like, well, so then I explained like, oh, I signed up to do passion parties, and this is my kit. You want to look at it with me? And to my complete surprise, she said yes. And so there we were. I think we were there sitting there for probably like at least an hour going through all the products and the toys and putting batteries and stuff and turning them on. And I remember so clearly she was holding this bright purple like swirling vibrator in her hand. And we were just like looking at it like, oh, this is so crazy. And my dad and my sister walk in.
Oh no.
And my dad's face was one of like shock, and then shook his head and walked away. And my sister was just like, Mom, what are you doing? And it was so comical, so funny, and very, like, opening for, like, communication with my parents, right? Because pre
Interesting.
that, like, my mom didn't teach me about my period or sex or anything. It was a very taboo subject in my family and growing up, and so it kind of, like, opened the lines of communication, which I guess is, like, something I could take away from doing passion parties in a way is, like, it opened the communication with my like, I never felt scared to tell them anything after that, which is kinda cool. But, yeah, that's my
Yes.
opening the box story.
Okay, so that was your first unboxing, and what an unboxing it was. So did your
Right.
parents know anything about this until the box is sitting on the counter and
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
really? Okay,
yeah. I
amazing.
didn't
How can
I
I
did not I I conveniently forgot to tell them about it.
so were you just out of curiosity, because I don't think I've ever asked you this question, but were you a bit of a wild child?
For sure.
Yes. Okay, confirmed.
Definitely the handful for my parents.
I I'm so curious as to what your reaction would be if your young daughter, fast forwarded many years, sort of put you in a similar type of situation. Like I will have to ponder that one for future, but it would be maybe
Yeah,
she couldn't thank you because you are open to so much. But I'm
right.
curious. So you had this box; it was loaded with things. I don't. I'm afraid to ask what made it so heavy. Um, I can't quite figure it out in my mind, but, if you wanna enlighten me. Um,
It was literally just like a bunch of dildos and vibrators and books. There were a lot of
books.
study guides, right? They had tons of study guides in there, as far in books and just like basically everything that you could think of to that you would see at a passion party, like that you would walk into, just like a table of sex toys, for lack of a better term.
Okay. Awesome. So how long between when you get this box and when you have your first party? And tell me about this first party. Like what happens or what's interesting about the first party?
Um, so timeline, I honestly don't remember. I feel like it was pretty quick because I had actually, unlike not telling my parents, all of my friends knew that I was going to be doing this. So I had quite a few parties lined up before I even got the box. And then of course, like I had to like deep dive and read all of the guides very quickly to be like on top of everything. My first party
No pun intended.
was what?
No pun intended.
Yeah. um, yeah, right. My first party, I couldn't even tell you how long after I got the box, but it was I was so nervous. I was faking confidence. I was sweating. I was stressed. I was just overthinking everything. And I remember this lady walks in, this one of my friends walks in with her mom and her grandma. And I just remember thinking, "Oh, this is gonna be interesting. And how am I gonna stand up and do this in front of someone's grandma?" And so I start the presentation, and it turned out she was like the best person to have there for my first time doing a party, because she was engaging, she was laughing, she was asking all the questions, she was telling stories, she was playing games. And okay, so when the games were very like, you could win like a passion party prize. And so one of the games was pass the dildo. And it was this hot pink double-ended, like, floppy dildo that you're supposed to pass between your knees to the next person in, like, a circle, and who if you drop it, you're out, and, you can't use your hands, so, the grandma won. She won the prize. She had the best knees of everybody. Like, it was hilarious. She just had us dying, and it made it such, like, a comfortable, safe space in a lot of ways, because
Yeah.
everybody felt comfortable after she truly broke the ice, and everybody felt comfortable talking about everything after that. And she ended up spending the most money out of everybody, of course. It was hilarious, and I just kept thinking, like, I went from panic and like overthinking to realizing like this grandma is having a great time. Like, we're fine. We've got this. Like, this is just we've got this. This is going to be amazing. And I I feel really grateful she was there for that, and I just lucky because it made every party after that so much easier, because I just thought of her in my mind when I can't even remember her name. I wish I did, because I would want to thank her now.
Yeah. Well, amazing that it was a grandma that did that and that won the game. So
Yeah,
go
yeah,
like awesome, right? Just what an amazing sort of like woman to
for
bridge the
sure.
gap. And yeah,
Yeah.
to bridge the I guess I'm also curious. I know we don't have a ton of time left, so hopefully we can continue the conversation some other time too. But um, what was was there an unexpected confession from one of these parties? Like you never saw that, you never saw this, kind of coming. And then I guess my follow up question to that would be: was there ever a time where somebody, yes, you can recall that someone walked in and was kind of like the most changed from walking in maybe guarded, and maybe this is that story that you just told, I'm not
Right,
sure, but
right,
like, and then, turning everything around and making it, you know, sort of
right.
that moment.
Well, I do have to say, like, at every party, there were, like, a very typical stereotype of women. There was always the one that was super shy, bright red face in the corner, like, not wanting to ask questions, and then by the end, finally felt like, able to ask a question. There was always, like, the friend sitting in the corner giggling, like, super embarrassed, but not embarrassed. And then there was always the oversharer who, they became my favorite ones because they truly would break the ice for everybody else to ask questions, because they had no shame, no, which is good. It's good, right? Like,
It's good.
um, and this one woman, do you know what Benwall balls are?
No, but I want
They're
to.
Okay, so Benoit balls are basically like these silver
Oh,
balls.
bamboo. Yes, yes, yes,
There's
yes.
yes, yes, yes. And
Right.
so like you're right, they help like you put them, you insert them and they're weighted and they help, extra pelvic floor. And they're great for like honestly, they're the greatest thing after pregnancy for like tightening everything up. Like I think every woman should have a pair, honestly. But this woman came in and within like the first 5 minutes had told us her whole life story. And she starts telling us this story, like an embarrassing story about when she first used Benoit balls. And she went to the supermarket wearing them. And one fell out in the produce aisle, and the poor kid that was working there saw it, picked it up, and handed it to her, and was like,
No.
"Ma'am, I think you dropped this." And I realized in that moment, oh my God, nobody taught her how to use them, right? Like, you should have underwear on, number one. You probably shouldn't be going out in public while you're wearing them. And it really, that was eye opening, I guess, for me in a sense, is like, okay, I have to, like, if I'm going to be selling these products to people, I need to really let them know how to use them because clearly whoever sold it to her never explained that. And here she is. I mean, thank God she was such a like a happy person because she really wasn't embarrassed telling us the story. But I also think that that is what made like thinking about it now as 20 years later, it made that such a special moment because it was women being able to share stories in a very safe space without judgment or, you're giggling, right? But it becomes fun. And, we don't get that a lot
Right.
as I think,
We
you
don't.
know,
And you certainly don't get it in school and, sex ed or what at
right,
least not here, not that I recall. So
right,
I think that's a great point. Like, I think there's a lot there. There's the ability to not only free people and give them the opportunity to talk about what it is that maybe they're curious about or would like to understand curious because they either don't know or want to understand more depending
right.
on where you meet them. So I think that's a great point. And in some ways you, at least in my mind, based on what you shared, pouring over the books, you had to kind of learn and be a bit of an expert beyond your in field training, shall we
My
say,
23 years of life.
beyond your in field training, you had to become an expert. This is awesome. Thank you so much. I think this is a great, perfect, really story for the original hustle, where the whole goal is to bring stories to people that we would share over a cocktail and
Totally.
really try to create that moment where you realize something really interesting has happened or everything just changed. And I think at
Right.
23, whether you realized it or not, you
Yeah.
were already sort of helping create awareness for something you thought was interesting. And obviously, I think you could sell water to anybody, and let alone water. Yeah,
Well,
yeah, water, and we'll take that and think about how it expands
right.
out. But
Right.
thank you so much for being
Of
here today
course. Of
and for sharing
course.
that story and
Yeah.
really being able to open up and tell me more about it. I'm sure I have a lot more questions, so
Yeah.
we'll hopefully get you back and be able to talk more about it. But
Yes,
thank
of
you
course.
so much, Carly. I loved having you
Of
on the show.
course. Of course. Thank you for having me. This was
Absolutely.
fun.
Absolutely.